Hello, everybody. Welcome to my live chat with Dele. My name is Oresia Nyawade. I am the co-founder, chief innovator, and editor-in-chief at Vuuqa. Vuuqa is a digital platforms company, and our main goal is to provide digital visibility to African-owned brands and businesses. I actually met Dele in one of the clubhouse rooms a couple of weeks back.
Yep.
And this month, our theme for one of our platforms, which is the e-magazine, was EdTech. And in one of those rooms, Dele was being interviewed about Kunda Kids, which is some of the stuff that we'll be talking about today. And so because of the world that we're living in today, I just reached out to him on Instagram. I was like, what's up, Dele? I would love to chat to you just about the work that you're doing around representation for young kids in kids content. And that's how we ended up here. So real quick, if you're joining in, I would love for you to please, there's a link that will be sent onto the chat from an account called Vuuqa. And with that link, you're essentially signing up to join the Vuuqa audience. And by joining the Vuuqa audience and the Vuuqa community, it just means that when we have our upcoming EMAG, which is coming out on the May 10th, or any events like this random one, then you will be in the know ASAP. So we have about 30 minutes today. I'm gonna go right ahead and start. Dele, how you doing? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Super excited to be here with you today. Thanks for the invite and happy to chat. I'm doing well. It's been a very hectic couple of months. I wouldn't lie, super hectic.
Mhm.
Just took some days to try to relax, but today has also been very hectic. But overall, we're doing good, doing well, can't complain.
So
And
where
you?
are you calling in from?
So we live in London, in the south of London, in a nice area called Sutton.
Nice.
Yeah.
I would love to tell you to introduce yourself, but your bio is so much fun. So I am going to read it just so that people can know who is in the room, what you do, and then I'll go straight into the questions so that we can start our chat. So Dele is a dad to a 2-year-old boy called Ire and a husband
Yes.
to a wonderful Ugandan queen, Louisa. He is a marketing professional with over 10 years of experience, working in various marketing roles within FMCG companies and in fintech. Dele studied at the University of Cambridge's Judge Business School, where he earned his MBA degree. He is also a proud alumnus of the University of Ibadan, where he graduated in 2008. Dela's passion for changing the narrative around Africans around the world motivated him to create Kunda Kids, a publishing and creative media studio that illuminates African stories through books, songs, animations, and games. Outside of work, Dele loves playing tennis, piano, and watching sports. So Dele, man, your bio was so much fun. I love the fact
Ah,
that you have an East African queen as a wife. Your little boy is the one who motivated you to start Kunda. And that is actually what's going to lead me straight up to our first question. So I would like for us to please talk about children's content in general, because now you're here as a dad, you're here as a subject matter expert, as a founder of Kunda. What's currently available in the market and how diverse and easily available is it to African parents or Black parents across the globe?
wow. That's like seven questions in one.
Okay, so
Actually, so
go
uh,
ahead, just whatever.
yeah, I'll try my best to answer everything to the best of my ability, and you can always come on with a follow-on question. But becoming a dad has really changed me. It's totally changed the way I see the world, and especially growing up in the UK and thinking I need to raise a young black boy in this country.
Yeah.
How do I help him build a sense of identity and all? So when our son turned 1, was like following month lockdown started,
Yeah.
And then we started curating content, because I'm always pro Africa and I want them to learn about his African heritage. I want them to grow up that way. So we started curating content, and that was when I started understanding the severe, the lack of diversity in children's content. So just some numbers here. Only 2% of recently published children's books in the UK had a lead black character.
Yeah.
And even when you look within the 2%, you don't find so many African children's books.
No.
And we know this is my own personal opinion, but when you say black, it means so many things to so many people. And in some ways, the term is even political, pardon me to say that. But we said let's so when we couldn't find content, enough content, that was when we said let's start
Theme.
putting together content on African themes.
Mhm.
And it was a little project that we're doing for our little boy. But eventually, when George Floyd was killed last year,
Yeah.
that was the trigger, because we sat down in the house and we were like, what do we do? Like, what can we contribute to society to advance the black race? And we were like, our generation, a lot of us were already damaged because we've seen all the worst. But we said, let's start putting together stories. Let's start inspiring kids. Let them start learning about themselves, about where they come from. Let them have real heroes they can also look up to. And that was the journey that led to starting Kunda Kids. But looking back into the industry itself is it doesn't celebrate diversity. The publishing industries. I'm sure you know I'm sure you know everything, but someone like you, the average person, will never get a deal from the big publishers.
Yeah.
The big publishers say they're trying to be more diverse, but they're only publishing books for a certain kind of black person. If you're
Mhm.
not a celebrity, if you're not a popular person, or you're almost never going to get a book deal with them. And that's the nature of the industry. So we have set out to do all what we can to transform this. And that was how we started Kunda Kids, not just as a platform to write our own books, but we're building Kunda Kids as a platform to celebrate African stories, to celebrate African authors. So what we say is, if you're writing African stories out there, there's room for you to collaborate with us at Kunda Kids. I still have a lot more to say, but I think I'll just pause there right now.
No, no, no. That's a very, very good introduction into the conversation about representation. And I know, for one, as a Pan Africanist, that is something that is so dear and true to the Vuuqa team, to the Vuuqa culture, to the Vuuqa audience. Because you're right, once you step into the entrepreneurial space, once you say that as an African, I'm going to start building, I'm going to start creating our own for our own, that's when you start to realize how many barriers are
Oh yeah.
available and how deep we'd have to go to, for example, publish the work that you're doing at Kunda Kids, because I've read that you guys are working with creatives, you're working with illustrators, and now you're starting to build this entire ecosystem where you're saying that in case anybody else wants to also be there, they shouldn't go through the same challenges that you guys have gone through. So now you're the guys who are starting to, take that full vertical ownership of the entire industry. So don't worry, I'm very happy with everything that you're saying. And I actually want to know from you, why is it important for diaspora kids? Because you've said that you're logging in from the UK, but here you are Nigerian native, your wife is Ugandan, you're East African. So as much as you're in the diaspora, you guys are Africans. Why is it important for diaspora kids to learn about the leaders, the customs, the culture, the folklore, and the history of Africa? Why is that important? You can speak as a dad, and just as a Kunda Kids founder, a man of the industry.
Yeah. So While we're doing our research before we started Kunda Kids, one of the quotes that we saw, which is something we say almost all the time, is when children's literature fails to show um, diversity and a proper representation of the world, the what kids' perception of the world becomes very limited,
Mhm.
and they begin to see the literature they consume as this is how the world is, and that is what leads to ignorance, prejudice, and also leads to racism in the future. And we know we're solving a problem peculiar to Black kids, but our books are not just for Black kids, our books are for all kids. And I say this all the time, we don't want the first time a little boy growing up in Wales will see a Black person, or will get to encounter a Black person, will be maybe when he's in high school, and it just doesn't know how to navigate around that all that diversity, because we know when kids accept diversity in the literature they consume right from when they grow up, it does improve their expand their worldview, and it makes them more accepting of people of other races and other colors when they do grow up. So those are some of the things that we know are really important. But now talking about why this is really important for our kids and to tell African stories. Earlier I touched on um, Kunda Kids. What we do is African, and we're very bold about that. Because when you say black, black means so many things to so many people.
Yeah.
Um, and there are some narratives that we're moving away from at Kunda Kids. You don't see us talk about slavery, because when Black history is taught in the UK, it typically starts from slavery.
Yeah.
And we don't want to continue spreading that level of ignorance, because there's a lot more to African history than slave trade and colonization and all of that. So we don't talk about all of that. We tell stories about our own heroes. And we know this is important because one of the things kids need, when kids grow up, kids need to have people they look up to.
Yeah.
And you don't want kids to so many kids libraries in the UK, it's full of books with just you know
Non-black,
lead
non.
not non-black lead characters and animals.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, an animal is 6 to 8 times more likely to be the protagonist in a children's book
Yeah.
than a black character.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of industry that that we're in right now. So basically, we know when kids see themselves in books, it does help them build confidence. And later I'll talk about some of our stories, just to tell you the kind of thinking that went into writing and why we started from there. But it's really important for kids to see themselves because they build a lot of confidence when they grow up. It does help improve their lifestyle. And this is why we say at Kunda Kids, we're inspiring the next generation because we're trying to put things in place for the younger generation, for kids, so that they grow up, they see the right representation, and they grow up with a lot of confidence and learning more about the world and where they come from.
Yeah. You know what? When I was really literally just having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she's working in, representation for women and gender. And this is just a different conversation around, race and diversity, so that we are seen from an early age. We're not being surprised. And I was telling her, when I was growing up, I wanted to be Oprah. And I did not know who Oprah was. I did not know what she did. But to show how important representation it is, at that time, she was the only Black woman on TV. And subconsciously, I was relating to her just because she looked like me. Oprah is not African, but we were watching Oprah in our TV on our TV in Kenya, and I was this the only Black woman I feel like I had access to. So when you tell me about tapping into the early development ages, I agree with you fully. I don't know about how people are feeling in the audience and what that means, but I'm actually going on to for you to now give us insights on how other people can participate in this conversation about representation. So, how can parents and society in general ensure that they're exposing their children to a diverse set of content? And content here means books, songs, shows. Before you know it, your kid is singing Dora Explorer and singing Spanish.
I
Like,
know.
so how can parents and society work to give their kids, especially their African Black kids, um, that exposure to a good set of content?
Okay, so just starting by going a little bit back in history, right? And just being a little bit provocative here. Um, when I grew up in Nigeria,
Yeah.
and growing up in Nigeria, there's a phrase I'll never forget in my life, right? And I'm sure some of the Nigerians in the audience will remember this. Stop speaking vernacular. Stop speaking vernacular.
Oh yes.
Like,
Mhm.
because at some point in our history, someone came and told us, stop speaking your language, you wouldn't be educated. And we believe that so much. And to the point that our teachers beat us with a cane when we speak our local language in school. And because that has happened over like two generations, our parents, our grandparents were the ones that really wanted to please, so they could get better positions in society.
Mhm.
So they learned to speak English and they were like, oh, they speak Queen's English, right? And what you realize is we started deprioritizing everything that is African.
Mhm.
And then suddenly everything West is best, and not just in everything in the content, in education, in books. So we all aspired towards anything coming from the West, and it's a problem that we are trying to deal with right now, because a lot of people, especially back home in our countries all over the continent, believe, oh, if it's imported, is of better quality. If it's
Yeah.
imported, is it's great.
Yeah.
So talking about how parents can contribute to this solution, it takes a mindset shift. I will need to unlearn a lot of the things that we've been fed with at some point in our history, because we need to embrace what it means to be African. So the position we take at Kunda Kids, um, we look at the past, we learn from it, but we don't do it from an angry place. We're like, guys, let's just think forward, let's move forward. A lot of bad things have happened in African history, and that's why when you read our books, we we don't write a lot of the nasty things.
Mhm.
People are like, are you guys trying to sugarcoat history or
No.
retell? No, we're like, no. There's the genre of our books is historical fiction,
Mhm.
and we started historical fiction because that was the direction our research pointed us in. A lot of people have written books about history, but
Mhm.
the thing is, what do children actually want? Content needs to be age appropriate. Is that what children want to learn? Is that what is entertaining for children? Um, so that's kind of how we wrote our books. And before I wrap up, I'll say a little more about the some of the stories. But basically, what parents can do is always support a lot of content creators. When you see there's diversity, everywhere you step into, I see there's lack of diversity. Look for diverse content. Now, sometimes it's going to hurt your pocket, and
Yeah.
I'll give examples. A lot of we Africans, when we look at pricing of books, we price our books at the same price the big publishers sell their books, right? And it's for a reason. We're not looking at it. We found some clever models to bring down the cost so we could at least be competitive.
Yeah.
But creating good content costs a lot of money. And by the time African content creators put it out there, you can't sell it cheap. And when you put your price up, people don't buy. They're like, oh, yeah, why are you selling your book so expensive? You yourself, you're a creative, and I'm sure you understand
I
what this
do.
is about.
Definitely
It
nodding. I absolutely do.
creating good content costs a lot of money. And so what I'll tell parents is, as much as possible, let us support our own content as much as possible, and encourage non-black kids, non-black parents to also have proper diversity in their library, because it's in doing so that we're going to have a better world for our kids.
Yeah. Thank you. And just to add to that, Dele, I think also as adults, this process of unlearning, right? Whether you have kids or not, this process of unlearning is a process. It takes time, but we also need to be very intentional about it. So, for example, I'm an avid reader, but from 2 years ago, I said that I'm only going to read African authors. And that takes time because I feel like I'm starting to run out of them, which to me just means that there is a gap and an opportunity for more books and more content. And what I like about what you're doing is that you are actually tapping into this from a very, very early age so that you're not stuck now at 30 plus trying to find out, because I'm also scrapping for information. I'm trying to know more information about my continent, more information about my people. And I live here and I was born here. And I'm just feeling like even within, we haven't been exposed to as much content that can really show us who we are and what's going on. So we have a couple of minutes left, and I just want to wrap up to our last question before we close off. It's short, it's 30 minutes. Content nowadays can be too long. See, we're real
Yeah.
content creators, we understand. But in the near future, I've been dying to ask you this question, burning to ask you this question. Would you consider publishing books and content that has been written in African languages? So, not only English, right? But can we see some, can we see some Banyankole? Can we see some Swahili? Can we see some? Tell me, what do you have?
The answer to that is the answer is not even yes, because that would be incorrect,
Yeah.
because it's ongoing as I speak with you.
Okay.
What we're doing at Kunda Kids is we're building a platform for content creators.
Awesome.
If you, what I say is, if you are African and you produce good content for kids 0 to 8, there's space for you at Kunda Kids. And I say this boldly. The only time I struggle is when I see content that is not good, and I'm like, we're not yet at a place where we can provide training, because we only launched last year
Yeah.
and we're just trying to put a lot in the market. But whenever we see content that is already good, there's space for you to push it out at Kunda Kids. And I say this everywhere. We're very collaborative. I've reached out to a lot of content creators that I know. I can mention names, but I won't, because a lot of them are ignoring us,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But it's okay; they'll come around with time.
They will.
But definitely, yes. And as I speak with you, I'm working. I've had calls with people. Um, I think in about 10 African languages so far.
Okay.
Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, Twi, Wolof, Shona, Ndebele, Zulu, Swahili, Luganda.
Yeah.
Uh, they're like I've had a lot of calls,
Okay.
and it's currently ongoing. There's something that we're working on, which we think is going to be quite interesting, and in the next few months, watch this space.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. Ah, Dele, I'm just gonna go before I go to some of the comments that have come up here on the chat. Um, as I said, this has been a chat to just wrap up the month of April. And April, the theme of our e-magazine was around EdTech. And within EdTech, there's a lot of creatives and a lot of innovators in the continent who are coming up with cool apps. There's Kunda Kids doing the books and the content. There's other people who are working on teaching young kids African languages or even older people. And so if you would like access to that and any future issues, our Vuuqa account is going to put up the link. So if you can please get on there and just fill in your details, and we will be able to stay in touch so we don't have to grapple and find you. Please do that. Dele Asanti Sana. I will read one question here from Bode. He says, I understand that many Africans rarely see this kind of initiative as something they must support. What has been your marketing strategy to capture as many audience, as many audience as possible? What is the acceptance like from other cultures? So,
Um,
yeah.
Marketing strategy. I've worked in marketing all my career. My wife Louisa too has worked in marketing. So we had a lot of strategies to use. We didn't invest a lot in marketing, but we decided to really grind toward and leverage our network. But it's about marketing is first about content. If you have a good story to tell, something compelling, a lot of times it will grow on its own. And we did experience quite a bit of that. So, you know, with marketing, I know we don't have much time, so I won't go into a lot of detail. But the thing I'll just say is it's about putting out really good content. Then the second part of the question was, what was the second part of the question?
It, how
Uh,
does the
Acceptance from other cultures.
mm,
Yes. So I'll say acceptance among Africans and blacks has been super super positive.
okay,
Uh, Outside of that, it's it's not been as strong as I would like, and I think that's because of the themes that we touched on. Because African children's books is not so much a thing. A lot of people see black children's books, but when we came out and we said African stories, a lot of people that are non-black, even some black people that are not African, felt, oh, these books are just for Africans. And I'm like, well, it's still okay because we want to read our own stories because there's a big gap in the market.
yeah,
But what we want to do at Kunda Kids is to take African stories and take it to the world because we want all kids all over the world to have access to African stories because Africa is a continent of over 1 billion people. And the more, the earlier kids start learning and understanding little bits and pieces around Africa, the better for everyone. It improves their worldview. And yeah, they grow up more informed and they'll know how to they have a better way to navigate around diversity as they grow up.
yeah. Thank you so much, Dele. I have actually seen a question here about somebody asking how they can connect with you. I have picked up that section that you put out from your bio, and it has your website, and they can follow you on social media. So, in case they want to keep in touch. And guys, thank you so much for showing up. Short notice, but these are stuff that we're trying to do on a good amount of, like at least once a month to get in somebody who was not part of the theme and to just chat with them. And really, our goal at Vuuqa, as I said at the beginning, is to provide digital visibility to African owned brands, businesses, and everyday people. So we do that through our 4 platforms, which is the podcast, the e-magazine, the marketplace, and our master classes. Thank you so much, Dele. Any last words for the people?
Thank you very much for having me, Arisia. Thanks everyone that joined this call and everyone that is going to be watching it, listening later.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, follow us at Kunda Kids. Visit our website. And you get to learn a lot more about our project at Kunda Kids and what's coming next at Kunda Kids. And yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, you can always get in touch with me. Message me on Instagram. I talk to everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, so message me. Yeah, and
Thank you.
we can always catch up.
To the audience, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for logging on. Until next time, Kwaheri, goodbye.
Bye, everyone.